astonished, shocked, and mystified Egyptologists since its mysterious existence was discovered. The intrigue into this elusive chamber, along with its mysterious adjacent shafts, comes as no surprise once one understands the anomalous characteristics of their construction. As we have already covered before, massive cover-ups have been suspected as taking place surrounding this mysterious chamber since its discovery. Strange shaft tunnels, set at a 45-degree incline, no larger than 20 centimeters in diameter, run away from this room, and no one seems to know why. Not only would these ancient shafts require being hermetically sealed during the pyramid's construction to stop them from becoming blocked, but the excruciating effort that would have gone into making them becomes all the more of a confusing undertaking once you realize they were not even connected to the chamber, but hidden 40 centimeters away from entering the tomb within the walls, completely invisible from the inside of the burial room located deep within the structure. Cheops, noticeably being the only pyramid to have ever been constructed with such shafts, making their addition a popular mystery within Egyptian history. One leads out from the subterranean chamber, two lead out from a termination point some 40 centimeters from the wall of the so-called Queen's Chamber, or now popularly suspected to be that of an alien tomb among ancient alien specialists, and two from the King's Chamber above. Here is where our story becomes interesting. Rudolf Gantenbrink, famous for actually discovering the blocking door within one of the Queen's Chamber shafts, which could lead to an as-yet undisclosed tomb, has also made other curious discoveries within the Great Pyramid. Discoveries which could only be explained by modern covert explorations of tunnels that were supposedly to that point unexplored. Gantenbrink's cache being but one example of these mysterious finds, deep within the tunnel systems in the royal chamber, at a 90-degree turn going vertically upwards, a pile of papers, possibly wrapped artifacts, weighed down with a small piece of timber or stone, possibly another artifact, was discovered by Gantenbrink's robot. Also, during initial location attempts to find access tunnels leading to the Queen's Chamber, several blocking stones required removal. After the removal of the seventh block, a modern-era hexagonal steel rods were discovered discarded upon the tunnel's floor. Each section of the hexagonal steel rods measures 2.7 meters in length and was fitted with a round socket which allowed them to be joined to the next section. In one of the lower shafts in 1872, Wayneman Dixon found 3 more objects, which could be considered proof of prior covert exploration of the mysterious northern shafts. A copper grappling hook, about 5 centimeters in length, accompanied by a small gray-green stone ball, and a broken-off piece of a square wooden slat or rod, about 13 centimeters long. The would today be the most intriguing of his finds. These artifacts, suspected to be remnants of the grave robber's tools, could have been carbon dated, yet this fragment is the only one of the 3 to now be missing out of the London Museum's collection. Unfortunately, in his writings, Dixon doesn't say in which of the 2 lower shafts he actually found the objects, but he mentions them in connection with the northern one. Not only did these obviously highly intelligent people leave evidence of how they must have gotten in, but also traces upon the previous untouched ancient walls of the shafts within Cheops, clearly left by their previous robotic technologies. Other square metal rods have been recovered, along with other artifacts discarded within some tunnel systems deep within the ancient structures, meaning these guys got to the treasures way before we did. Interestingly, reported evidence of covert excavations continues to this day, heavy-duty electrical supplies discreetly running into and trailing deep into the pyramids have been noticed and photographed by some of the more astute tourists. Witnesses to the sounds of heavy machinery being used beneath the site is also frequently reported, yet rarely followed up. It seems it's not a question of whether brilliant minds have achieved the seemingly impossible in penetrating these secret layers, but more a question of how and what astonishing finds have possibly been kept concealed.
Probably the most famous archaeological site in the world is the Giza Plateau, just west of modern Cairo. Here was the main burial ground of the pharaohs of Dynasty 4, Khufu, Khafre, and Menkaure. We see the pyramids in order from right to left, the largest pyramid of Khufu, the Great Pyramid, and then in the middle the Pyramid of Khafre, built on higher ground but actually shorter than the Great Pyramid, and then finally the smallest complex belonging to Menkaure, whose lowest courses were cased in granite, not in limestone. Each pyramid is actually part of a complex with many portions. The pyramid itself, the burial place of the pharaoh, and then on the east side, a pyramid temple connected to a long causeway marching eastwards and ending down by the harbor in a valley temple. These temples were used for the burial process and in various reenactment rituals meant to bring the spirit of the deceased pharaoh back to life. And after the funeral, the temples were in full swing with a complement of priests, administrators, scribes, and various lands that were meant to produce produce for the king's cult and offerings for various rituals. We are still understanding the precise purpose of these temples and how they functioned. Surrounding the royal pyramid complexes are mastaba fields, or areas with superstructures and burial shafts belonging to the elites of the Old Kingdom in the 3rd millennium BCE. On the eastern side of Khufu's Great Pyramid, for example, is the East Cemetery, with 3 subsidiary queen's pyramids and then a series of great twin mastabas belonging to members of the royal family. On the west side of the Great Pyramid are even more mastaba tombs. They seem to have developed from far west to closer to the east, closer to the royal pyramid itself. They date to the 4th, 5th, and even into the 6th dynasties. The quarry area, known as the Central Field, is located between Khafre's Causeway and Menkaure's Causeway. This was the source of most of the limestone blocks that went into the core of Khufu's Great Pyramid. Once his pyramid was complete, this area served as another cemetery and was filled in with mastaba tombs and rock-cut burial chambers. Towards the east of this central field area is a large mastaba-like pyramid known as the Pyramid of Queen Khenekauis. Her relationship to Menkaure and her role towards the end of Dynasty 4 and the beginning of Dynasty 5 is still under investigation. The harbors and the ancient course of the Nile and canals are one of the most fascinating subjects in studying Giza. They will help us to understand the layout, the landscape, the decisions the ancient Egyptian architects made in terms of where to place their various temples and causeways, what was on low ground, what was on high ground, and eventually reconstructing the geology and the landscape of the necropolis will give us many clues into ancient Egyptian mortuary practices.